If your Airbnb isn't getting booked, the number one reason is probably that your photos aren't good enough. Today, I'm going to share my top 5 tips and what mistakes to avoid so that you can shoot your Airbnb like a pro. I'm Haifa. I am a short-term rental host with more than 200 5-star reviews, and I've also worked as a fashion photographer for 20 years. Before we jump into tip number 1, there's 2 questions I get asked all the time. The first one is, do I need to buy a real camera? And the answer to that is no, you don't. It's perfectly fine to shoot this on your iPhone. I'd say anything from an iPhone 11 onwards is cool. I have shot a lot of my own listing photos on some of these older iPhones, and it's absolutely fine. You don't need to spend money on tons of expensive gear. The other question I get asked all the time is, should I hire a professional photographer? And my answer to this one is absolutely yes, you should. Your listing photos are your one opportunity to get someone to click on your listing and to book your place rather than anybody else's. It is really, really crucial that you get this right. Think about how much money you've already spent on buying your listing, on refurbishing it, on all your cute furniture. Don't fall at this last hurdle and cheap out on the photos. Please do yourself a favor and hire a pro. Having said that, if you do want to shoot some pictures just to get you started with a new listing, or if you want to become more knowledgeable so that when you do hire a photographer, you'll be able to brief them better and know exactly what you're looking for, then this video is for you. My tip number 1 is to have great lighting. Photography is all about lighting, and this is really the one thing that you absolutely want to get right. Personally, I am not a fan of an on-camera flash. I see so many listings, including those that are shot by pro photographers, where they've just come in with this flash and bleached the pictures out completely. It looks awful. Don't do that, guys. Also, if you hire a pro, tell them not to do that. You're better off working with the ambient light, the available light that you have. The way you go about this is first walk around your space, open up all the curtains, open up all the blinds, let in all that beautiful daylight, and then go around and turn on all of your little incandescent lights around the house. You can use a weather app that will show you which days of the week are going to be the brightest using what they call a lumen index. I often do this so that whenever possible I can plan to shoot my content on the day that I know I'm going to have the maximum amount of available light. My pro tip will be to experiment with shooting at different times of day. So for instance, if you get really beautiful sunlight into your living room in the morning, by all means shoot that. One of my favorite times of day to shoot is around dusk, where the daylight is dropping, and then the proportion between that and any incandescent lights you have around the house, or string lights, for instance, that you might have outside, will change, and it's going to give you some really amazingly atmospheric photos. So 100% I recommend shooting around that time. My tip number 2 is to shoot everything at around waist height. I see a lot of people shoot from above and down. What this is going to do is really foreshorten your space and make it feel really claustrophobic and just small. It doesn't look great, so come down and shoot from about this vantage point. My pro tip here is to move around a little bit when you are at this height. So move a little bit to the right, move a little bit to the left, and you'll be able to see that just by moving a few inches either way, that is going to massively change how the image appears. Sometimes you can't even see it while you're shooting, and you won't actually notice until afterwards when you're going through and doing your selects, and you'll see that certain pictures just pop that much more because you moved that little bit. If you are shooting this on your iPhone, try to stay on the default lens, which is the 1x lens. And the reason for this is as soon as you start zooming out too much or zooming in too much, the lens quality on the iPhone goes down dramatically, and it just is going to give you grainy, noisy photos. If you need to, then move physically in the space, step back a little more, move forward, whatever you need to do, but try whenever possible to stay on that lens. Another reason you want to stay on this lens is you want to avoid doing too many wide-angle shots. These can really distort the image and also just make it look very different to what's there in reality, so try not to use too many of these wide-angle shots. My tip number 3 is to walk through the space and declutter it before you start shooting. I know this can sound super obvious, but a lot of people skip this step. I see a lot of listings where people have forgotten to remove things like dirty towels that are hanging behind a door, or sometimes things even show up in mirrors that you hadn't realized. So go through, do a little 5-minute walkthrough beforehand. You'll be glad you did. It is such a bummer when you've gone and done all of your shots and then you see afterwards that there's loads of random clutter that you should have taken out, and now you have to go and reshoot it. My pro tip here is to be extra mindful of bathrooms and kitchens. In the bathroom, you always want to keep the toilet seat down. That never ever looks good in a picture. I also like to remove the toilet brushes, the plungers. In the kitchen, I'll remove sponges, kitchen towels. All of that stuff does not need to be in the picture. People don't need to see it. And then you can just put it right back when you're done shooting. My tip number 4 is to edit your photos using the VSCO app. That is VSCO. I am going to link to it in the show notes below. I want to say that I'm not affiliated with VSCO in any way. They didn't sponsor this video. I just love this app and I use it all the time. This app really is my secret sauce, and it's going to give you that professional look that you're after for your photos. I think I pay something like $35 a year for the Pro account, which gives you a ton of filter presets. There's so many things you can do in this app. You can adjust contrast, you can add grain, you can add color just to the shadows, so many things. I'm not going to go into the specifics too much in this video because the settings are really going to depend on your property, your personal preference and aesthetics. If you guys do want to see me do a video on the settings that I personally use in my short-term rentals, I'll be happy to make that for you. Just drop me a comment below. My pro tip here is to not go crazy with the editing. You don't want to make your property look like something that it's not. In my experience, most issues with guests arise when you haven't set guest expectations properly to begin with. If a guest sees something in your listing and comes and then the reality is completely different, that is when you're going to get complaints, and it's just a whole headache that you want to avoid. Obviously, we all edit our photos a little bit, and that's expected. People know that. You'll brighten, you'll sharpen a little bit. That's all cool. But don't go crazy and make it look like something totally different. My tip number 5 is to also do some lifestyle shots. What I mean by that is anything that's not just showing the spaces as they are, things that are a little more staged and styled. If you can get any of your friends and family to model for you in your pictures, that's great. If you've hired a professional photographer, talk to them and see if they would be cool with doing some model shots on the same day so that you can get the most out of your shoot day. Either included in the package you've agreed with them, or if you can negotiate something extra, but just to get it all in on the same day. When you're planning lifestyle shots, you want to consider who is your guest avatar and target them. Now, your guest avatar is the type of guest that you get most frequently at your property or the type of guest that you are targeting. If you're new and you don't know what your guest avatar is yet, that's totally fine. Just try to shoot the best amenities that you have at your property. For instance, if you've got a swimming pool, shoot that. If your space is very designed and you have beautiful furniture, a beautiful living room, shoot that. You don't have to have people in your shots necessarily. You can also do little vignettes, little moments around your space. For example, if you have a reading nook, you can style it up a little bit with a blanket, a cup of tea, a book, and just get some little moments in there where the guests can imagine themselves being at your place. My pro tip here is if you are using models or friends and family in your pictures, to make it unrecognizable or faceless as much as possible. This makes it more easy for your future potential guests to imagine themselves in the space, and it doesn't become about that other person that's in the shot. An example of this would be if you are shooting someone standing on your deck looking out at the view. You could shoot just the corner of their shoulder, a little bit of their face, but make it more about the setting and the view so that it doesn't become about that person. Okay guys, if you followed the tips in this video, you should have a great selection of images to choose from. I would select no more than 30 to 35 final images. People these days are so overwhelmed with information, and you don't need to show them 5 images of your living room or your bedroom. It's totally unnecessary. Make your point in as few images as possible, and it's going to look a lot stronger on your listing. A note here is that if you are also listing on Vrbo, Vrbo does allow you to add a video, and you should 100% do that if you can. I think they let you do a minute and a half, something like that. The way I do it is I do walkthroughs of each space in my property and then put them together into one video, and that way the person can do a walkthrough of your full space within that 1 minute, and it really helps to get you more bookings. In this video, I'm not going to go into the specifics of how to lay out the images on your listing page or your captions and all that stuff. I am going to cover that in a separate video about how to audit your listing, and when that is ready, I'm going to link to it here as well. Okay guys, that does it for my top 5 tips on how to shoot your Airbnb like a pro. I hope that you got a lot of actionable tips from this video that you can implement today to make your listing photos awesome and get tons of bookings. If there's any topics that you'd like to see me cover in future videos, or if you have any questions about what we've covered today, please drop me a comment below. Until next time, happy hosting.